Hello, everyone. Kyle, AA0Z here. Welcome to the Thursday night stream, the first one of the year. Happy New Year. And tonight we have Stephen N1SH. Hello, Stephen. Hello. How are you?
Howdy, Kyle. I'm doing pretty well. Happy New Year to you, too.
Happy New Year. We're going to talk about Node-RED and WSJT-X. Stephen has written a couple of nodes in the Node-RED space to help decode, encode, control, do a whole bunch of cool things that we're going to talk about. Hopefully that will spark more of your interest in FT8. And I always think whenever I look at these nodes on, there's a whole bunch of, there's YouTubers that are putting some games, FT8 games together, right? And it's all about strategy on winning the old FT8 off. And I always think that I can put together a Node-RED flow to help me win those games, and to strategize. So maybe one of you out in the chat can take a look at all of these nodes that Stephen has, these two nodes that Stephen has put together and say, hey, I'm going to make a flow to basically win contests with. So that's what we're going to do tonight. First, I want to do a little housekeeping. We've got the new CW Operators Roundtable. Next week is QRP radios. We're going to talk about QRP radios on Monday. Evan, who has got K1EJT, has got a ton of QRP radios, and so does Tim, K7KOM, N7KOM. And we are going to talk about the best QRP radios for CW. So if you're into QRP, I know Stephen is, that is the stream for you. So tune in for that next week, Monday night at 8 a.m. And let's get into it. Stephen, hello. Give me your 45-minute elevator speech on how you got into ham radio, and then you morphed into Node-RED land.
Well, it might be more than 45 seconds. Well, I'll try to keep it short. Ham radio was easy. My grandfather used to teach Morse code to the troops in World War II.
Oh, wow.
Whenever I visited and would wake up in the middle of the night, he sat me down and made me listen to his Morse code tapes. The sound of my grandfather still runs through my head.
Wow.
T. So I didn't get a license until after he had passed away, though, and it was more or less on a lark, and I had totally forgotten much of the Morse code, but it was pretty quick to come back after that. So, and electronics was always avocation. Is that what they call it? Avocation? What have you. Node-RED was a little bit stranger. It really started off with home automation stuff for me.
Yeah.
With Node-RED, and I was, I saw it, I came across it early on, and it was like, oh wow, this is super easy to do this. The only downside, it was all JavaScript, and I didn't really like JavaScript, but here I am.
Right. I learned about Node-RED, I don't know how many years ago, from Mike Walker, flexradio, and he's just like, hey, this Internet of Things is taken off. We can totally do this with Node-RED and control our home stations, control remote stations. This thing is awesome. And I'm like, and I remember I was sitting at a banquet with him, and I'm just like, Mike, you're full of crap. And here we are. Node-RED is the coolest thing since sliced bread.
Having spent much of my life teaching people how to write code, it makes it so easy for people not to have to learn intricate details. You can just look at the old flowcharts that people used to talk about, and you can take that flowchart and make it run.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It brings a lot of programming to non-programmers.
Yeah. I am not a programmer at all, but I have taught myself a little bit of Node-RED, and I'm pretty impressed on all the stuff that I have learned. But Google is your friend too. So Don't think that you it's a programming language. I'm going to fail at this. I have literally, I've gotten stuck, and then I just type into Google, or even better, ChatGPT. You just tell ChatGPT what you have and what you're trying to get out of the output in just plain English. And it usually builds some type of node or a function node.
Yep. it'll at least get you along the way.
It will. It'll
and
get you further down the line, right?
And it will help you solve problems. If you run into something that you're not quite doing it right, it will fix it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. It's great. Maybe we should level set, and maybe we need to talk about what Node-RED is. Should we talk about what Node-RED is?
Yeah, we can start there. Here's I think you're showing the screen because that's what I'm seeing. So
Yeah.
Basically, we've got an empty palette here, and if you can envision what it is that you want to do, you can just drag and create these flows. And I can start from the easiest thing, which is just injection node, which will just inject a timestamp. We can make it start with any piece of data we want to, and then we can say, okay, I want to print this out on the screen. And over here on the right-hand side, you've got this little debug palette here, which will show up everything that we print out. And really, Node-RED is about wiring these things together. So I drag and drop this wire onto this, and now these things are connected. Now, it doesn't happen in computer sense. We used to have to compile things. Okay, Node-RED, you have to go up here and you have to click on deploy, which says, okay, make this happen.
Right.
And now we're up and wired, and we can click on this little button, this little timestamp button, and guess what pops up over there is the timestamp. If we're in the computer science world, we would change this timestamp and not to send the timestamp, but we'd say, oh, the typical hello world. That's so now when we deploy, now every time we click the little button, we get hello world out. So the essence of Node-RED is just connecting these things together.
Yeah. And we have adopted this to the ham radio world, where if you can connect a device, if you can get a serial USB, Ethernet, if it has a communication path out, you could probably pipe that output into Node-RED and either you might not be able to control it, but at least you're getting statuses of everything that it possibly is in your shack.
And so many of the devices, but so many of the radios as well, they communicate over the network or they communicate over the serial port, the old CAT communications. My FT450D sitting here in the back, I used to use that. And it has a CAT connection. You just connect it up to your computer and you can control it. Yeah. And Node-RED has that in it, right? It's got this, here's UDP, which a lot of the radios use UDP, which is the TCP/IP UDP node.
Yep.
And it will just listen and it will spit out all of the things that come across UDP if you want it to.
Right. Yeah.
And we can wire that up the same way. And we have to configure this UDP node. We'll get to that in a minute. And then anything that gets sent out to that network address will just show up over here the same way our hello world did. And we can use all the tools in Node-RED. You can see down here, we've got a big palette full of stuff that we can say, oh, filter these based on particular values, or switch and choose particular values. So you can do all that kind of conditional work, like when my radio turns on, do this. When I see this call sign pop up, do this.
Right.
And you're just dragging and wiring things together.
So we're getting some people in the chat saying that the screen is fuzzy.
Is yours fuzzy too?
Well, let's see. That's a little. Now that I bring it closer, it's a little fuzzy.
Okay.
We might have to. We were working on the screen share beforehand. And
wonder if did that help?
Oh,
bigger on my end. I don't know if that
chat did that help? Is it not fuzzy anymore on your end? We're gonna wait for the chat to.
Yep. I wondered if it was doing some scaling or something on us.
We'll see you in the chat whenever people. People are saying better. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I might have done some. Yeah, people are saying good. It looks good now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably some type of scaling or whatnot.
So, one of the context here was in I always say it wrong. Is it WSJT-X? And I never know whether to put the X on the end or not, because some people just say WSJT.
Yeah.
But one of the nice things in WSJT-X, if you go into settings, and a lot of people use this because they're connecting up with stuff like Grid Tracker.
Yes.
Or their logger, and WSJT will send things out. Oh, did I jump ahead? Should we still be talking about Node-RED, or is jumping into here? Okay.
Let's just go. Full steam ahead.
Okay. So one of the things that's nice in here is that we can send stuff out to the network. So we normally send it out to Grid Tracker, and we have Grid Tracker pick it up so that we can use Grid Tracker to control WSJT-X or our logging program or something else. So we set up WSJT-X. Now, here I've chosen, if we can get into all the network nitty-gritty details, I've chosen what's called a multicast address. That way I can send out from one place and multiple other places can receive it, as opposed to a unicast, which is a one-to-one. We definitely want multicast so that we can broadcast what WSJT-X is doing to our entire network.
Ah, okay. That is key to this, right?
It's key if you want multiple things to be able to communicate with WSJT-X.
Okay, got it.
If you're only doing like Grid Tracker, it doesn't make a difference because you're just doing one-to-one. But if we want to have Node-RED, Grid Tracker, all kinds of other things, we need to do multicast. The place where I always get goofed up is I always forget to pick my network card in this outgoing interfaces. I can't tell you the number of hours I've wasted coming in and realizing that I didn't pick this. So make sure you've got your network card picked here when it's sending things out.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if you get more advanced and you want to be able to control WSJT-X from Node-RED, you need to make sure that accept UDP requests is chosen as well, so that it says, I'll accept incoming control requests.
Okay, got it.
So pretty much that, and we're going to use this same address, and we're going to go put this into Node-RED.
Okay.
So when we go over to Node-RED, I had this UDP node over here, and I'm going to configure this UDP node. I just double clicked on it, and it brings up this edit UDP node screen. Let me minimize that. But you can see we can say that we want to listen for multicast or direct messages. We're going to pick multicast, as I just talked about a moment ago. And what's the multicast IP address? Well, that's the same one that I just copied over here from WSJT-X.
Right.
And you'll notice UDP server port number is 2237. So we're going to put that in here. Make sure you do 2237, not 2337, which I always seem to do. The rest of this is we're not going to change it at all. It's going to come in as a buffer. Okay. More advanced Node-RED stuff. So I'm just going to say done. You can see that it now shows this here. Let me go pop open that little debug window again. So now I'm going to go ahead and deploy. Let me cancel that window here. And now as I get things in, I'll have to wait for a decode cycle here, but we'll see these things pop up over here in the debug window.
Ah, yes. Okay.
This is just raw UDP data from WSJT-X. We can drill down into it, and it's just
really raw.
It's hexadecimal gobbledygook that I love and people like me love. Most people think, what do I do with this? Right.
Right.
And that's where the WSJT-X nodes come into play, because they will decode this stuff into stuff that you can use in your flow. So the whole genre of Node-RED is really built around people making these nodes that we can just drop in. So we're going to be able to drop in a node between our UDP node here, our UDP node in this debug node, and it's going to decode it so that what we see over here is somewhat human readable.
Yeah.
So go ahead. You were going to.
Yeah. So I think for in order to start that process, you have to load your nodes, right?
So when you first get Node-RED, it's got these built-in nodes, right? It's got a ton of stuff. Look, sort, batch stuff. It can read CSV files. It can read HTML, YAML. It even has a dashboard. I added the dashboard. But the real joy is that on the Node-RED site, there are a bunch of other, they call them flows or nodes that you can get. There's a ton of them in here for doing all kinds of different things. And
this is just a repository on the internet that is searchable, but it's also searchable in Node-RED if you want to load it into your palette, right?
Yep. So in this thing here is called our palette. the set of nodes that we have over here. And what I can do is over here under this hamburger menu, which is
good.
off the
Keep
screen.
going. Yeah, there you go.
Over here under this hamburger menu, we get some options, and one of them is manage palette. And again, the palette is this thing over on the left. So I say manage palette, and it shows me what nodes I have installed. I have the core nodes and I have the dashboard nodes. And it also has an install tab where I can go and search that catalog. It's the same catalog here. It's just within Node-RED.
Yeah.
So I'm going to search for WSJT-X, and there we go. We've got the WSJT-X data decoding. So I just click install. I say, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And poof. Up here at the top, it says it's added these 2 nodes to my palette. So I can go ahead and close this. And if I search over in my palette here, I can scroll down, not too quickly. And here they are down here, under ham radio category. We've got a decode and encode.
I love it that it's the category is ham radio. That's awesome.
Oh, what else? So again, I alluded to this before. I can just drag and drop these things right in here. So I'm going to drag it. You notice how that line changed to a dotted line?
Yep.
So when I drag it here, it's automatically going to connect it.
Got it. Okay.
Frankly, once I hit deploy, let me turn this debug node back on. When I hit deploy, now when we get a decode cycle, now you can see they look a little bit different.
Yeah, now it's got some English in there.
Yeah. So here we're getting a status out of Node-RED, or out of WSJT-X. So WSJT-X sends a bunch of stuff to us. The status is it giving us like its regular update of what frequency am I listening on. So you'll see here that it's 704 or 7074, which, we can verify over here. I'm on 40 meters right now. The DX call is the person who's currently in whatever they call this thing here.
Yep.
And its report is, their report is -17. I'm running FT8. I'm N1SH and FN43. So it's giving me the sort of status of WSJT-X.
Got it. Yep.
The other thing, the status is somewhat important mostly for the frequency, because when we look at what WSJT-X sends us when we get a decode, so here's one of the decodes, and you can see this is decoding a CQ from KI5WES.
Yep.
And he's in EM40. But you'll also notice that it doesn't give me the frequency, it gives me the delta frequency. So that's the difference in frequency. I'm getting a little bit detailed there, maybe.
Yep,
but
yep. Understood.
People look at this and they say, what's the frequency? Well, the frequency's over in the status message.
Yeah. Come on, Kenneth.
Yeah. And it gives me the date, time, and it gives me some other stuff. There's a couple of things in here that most people won't care about, but this gives us stuff that we can do. So if I want to create some sort of information about what's coming across in WSJT-X, I can look at all these decodes. There's also a handy little thing. All of this stuff comes right out of WSJT-X. One of the other things that I put into this node is it tries to decode the message. Like this one's a CQ, and it's from this person to that person. WSJT-X only gives you the message. So if we look at other decodes, one that's not a CQ, I think I just clicked on the same one again. That one's a CQ too. Let me turn this back on and let's see if we get some other ones. Okay. So this one here is, oh wait, is somebody sending me something? Oh no, that's from me. Why is that from me? Oh, that's the status message. Sorry. Where's a decode? Here's a decode. And this one's not a CQ.
There you go, yeah.
Between two folks. So you can see that it's a TX3, which should match up with TX3 over here. So it should be that format. Should be the TX3 format, and they're reporting a SNR of -6.
Right. Gotcha. Cool. All right.
I want to pause, make sure I'm not going too fast.
Nope. I think everyone's nerding out over multicast messages in the chat.
We can go into a long discussion about that. When you're doing your stuff, you should use something. It's 239, 255, 254. I think I started off earlier using a different one, and I had to go back and check the internet RFCs. Somebody put me in the right spot, said I was using the wrong multicast address. They were right.
No, I don't think so. If you have any questions for Stephen and about Node-RED, put them in the chat. If you can put question in the chat beforehand, before your question, that would probably get my attention, or at least tag me, and we'll. But as of right now, yeah, Ken, RFC, request for comment. Yes.
Yep.
Ken's a nerd like the rest of us. Ken,
yeah.
Ken was goofing on, or not, he was getting all giddy on multicast.
Multicast is magic.
Yes.
There are a few caveats with multicast. Trying to run multiple things that are listening on the same multicast address on the same computer sometimes causes problems. I've noticed that with Node-RED. If you try to run Node-RED and Grid Tracker on the same computer, sometimes they might conflict over the multicast address. I think there was a setting in Grid Tracker to tell it when you tell it to use a multicast address.
Gotcha.
Double check that when you do it.
Okay. Got it.
So I'm going to jump from this, and it's not going to be a big jump, but one of the nice things about Node-RED in this palette as well is that, so let me slow down here. So back under this hamburger menu, there's also an import. So you can import flows from other folks, which is really nice. We can export and import them. So I could export this, and it exports it in a very transportable text format, the JavaScript object notation or JSON file. But you can also import them. So ones other people send you, you can take and you can import. You can also, under import, with the nodes, you can provide examples. So I can import from the clipboard, from a local file, or from the examples. And you'll notice here, under Node-RED contrib WSJT-X, there's a couple of examples.
Oh, so, I had no idea you could do that.
Oh, yeah. This is assuming that the person who makes the nodes provides examples.
Okay, got it.
We can put some examples in there. So I'm gonna bring up this one here, WSJT-X message types.
Okay.
And I'm going to say import, and it shows it imported one flow and 16 nodes. So here's the flow 1 I've been working on, and then here's the one that got imported.
Okay.
So you'll see the difference here. I've got the UDP node going into WSJT-X decode. The difference here is I've got UDP going into that, but then I've got a little bit more logic that basically breaks out the different types of messages. So this is going to count the number of heartbeat messages, the number of status messages. You can see all those over here. This is a decode message. These are decode messages, so they'll get counted here. So I'm going to hit deploy, and you'll notice right away it starts counting how many. That's all this flow does, is just count them, so that you can split them out, though. So you can see, so we have a decode node, and then we have a switch node, and that switch node basically says, if it's a heartbeat, send it out this wire. If it's a status, send it out this wire. If it's a decode, send it out this wire. And what I have at the end of those wires is just these little functions that keep track of how many of them there are. So yep. Clear is an interesting one. QSO logged, whisper decode. You'll see all of these in, they come out at various times. The most common are the heartbeat. The heartbeat message is just WSJT-X saying, I'm still alive. I'm still alive. I'm still alive. It's good. It's a good test to see if you're actually connected. Status.
And those are just function nodes.
Yeah, these are function nodes. And that's it is a bit more advanced, but you can write JavaScript code inside Node-RED.
Yeah.
So these function nodes are really just saying, look, keep track of this message type. And then this node status is what puts it in the little box down here. So right underneath it, you can see where it says heartbeat equals 5.
Yeah.
That's what this little code here does. It says put it under there with a little green dot.
The status nodes are really cool. Once you get into more advanced stuff, I did a whole video on status nodes. And if you search back through my channel, I show you how to do some common status nodes. And it's it's awesome. So you don't have to like write your own code to go into a variable to figure out, all right, what is this node actually outputting, or what is the status of this node? You know, it's cool.
So yeah, this flow here, which is again built right into the example, is just sort of keeping track of what's going on in WSJT-X in a sort of numerical sense. Now, you'll notice most of these are empty. Clear actually happens if I go over here. Keep an eye on this clear. In WSJT-X, you know, you can clear the RX window and the other window. And when I do that, you'll notice it shows up that it was cleared.
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
So some of these only get triggered by particular events. Like I haven't made a QSO. If I do make a QSO and I log it, then it'll send out a message that I logged a QSO.
Gotcha.
Close. I'm not going to close WSJT-X right now, but if I closed it, it would send out a close message, sort of like a last will and testament saying, hey, I'm going away.
Got it.
And I'm not running Whisper, and I haven't logged any ADIF stuff. So the things most people care about are the heartbeat, the status, and the decode.
Yeah.
And the switch node, again, we're just looking at a flow here. So we come from the UDP node, we decode it, and then the switch node just says, look, if the topic that we're looking at has heartbeat in it, then send it out that first wire. If it has status in it, send it out the next wire. If it has decode, clear, QSO log. So those correspond one for one with these little outputs on this switch node.
Yeah. And if you hover over them, it, it'll tell you what the the condition is. I think that's what it's called, a condition, right?
Yeah. And like the other node, I can drop one of these debug nodes out here if we really want to see what's coming out with the decode, and then I can wire it to it. So this way now my debug window will only show decodes. It won't show the status messages or anything else. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to open this up. Now I need to hit deploy so that it sort of publishes my code, but now we only see the decode messages. We can also, this little green button highlights. I can just turn that debug node on and off as well. And you'll notice, let me clear all the ones. It won't, there's nothing to see here, but as it decodes stuff over here, it's not going to show up there.
Yeah.
We can copy these, we can, if we want to see what the heartbeat messages look like, we can get just heartbeat messages. I don't know why it said error. I think it deployed correctly there. So now we can see what the heartbeat message looks like. Again, this is just something that WSJT-X sends out saying, hey, I'm alive.
Yeah, got it. And then that is all coming out of the decode node.
Yep.
That, right.
So before we jump away from the decode node, there's some other examples too.
Okay.
And one of the other examples, I'm going to go import. I'm going to go under examples. And I'm going to pick this call dashboard. So this is a much more complex flow, but meant to lean into what you can do. And it popped up there and said I was missing a UI table.
Yeah.
I apologize. I meant to have that installed ahead of time. It'll be really quick. I'll go under here, UI table. Whoop.
So as he's installing that, if you see a flow that's got a node that's got a red dashed line around it, it's probably not loaded on your dashboard into your palette. So you probably need to go and find that node. A lot of times it's the same title. The name that you want to search for is the title that is actually in the node that isn't populated, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a little tricky. I've had a couple of flows where I've loaded some graphic manipulation tools, and it's not called what you think it's called. So sometimes you got to contact the author and see what it is. But a lot of times, if you're computer savvy and can kind of fumble around with it, you can probably figure out what you need to load in your palette to get that flow deployed.
And this flow, there's a dashboard, which a lot of folks use. There's the Node-RED dashboard, which I thought it would show up right there. Okay, well, I won't bother searching for it. But Node-RED has a way to build HTML pages for you as well, using a dashboard. And on that dashboard, you can put tables, you can put buttons. I'll show an example a little bit. People have done some really crazy good stuff with the dashboards in Node-RED. But this example, you see, we've got the same thing. We're coming from UDP. That IP address is the wrong IP address, though. So let me fix that. I don't know how I got that wrong IP address in my thing, but so it's coming from the UDP going into the decode, and then I save a few variables. There's a way in programming languages, we can send everything through this flow, but I save a few things as variables. And you'll notice this little connector here. When I click it, you can see where it's connected to.
Yeah.
It just helps us clean things up a little bit, so I don't have to have this other big long line here if I don't want to. So basically that connects over to here. So I decode, I save a few things in memory of where WSJT-X is. I'm going to need that later when I want to control it. But then it takes those and it creates tables from them, or it creates tabular data. So think of like a spreadsheet, right? It's going to take and it's going to collect all the decodes and it's going to put them in a table. And then it's going to show me that table in a UI thing. So when I deploy this, I can also go over to here. Whoops. I always go to the wrong spot here for the dashboard, but I can pick dashboard. And on the dashboard, where's that? Here we go. I can open up the dashboard, and that one little flow has created this whole table for me of all of the stuff that's coming in WSJT-X.
Yeah.
I've separated it. Down here are the CQs. These are the ones where people are calling CQ. Oh, wait, no, the ones. Yeah, these are all of them up at the top, and these ones down here at the bottom are just the people calling CQ. So if you're just looking at trying to track these, maybe you're monitoring your station and you just want it to collect all this stuff that you can look at later. It's super easy. I say super easy. People are probably looking at this and saying that is not super easy, but when you get into it, it is.
Yeah.
Now, these aren't really, I can look at what's here, but it doesn't do anything. I haven't set anything up for like if you click on them or anything like that. That's really where like Grid Tracker comes in, right? Where it tracks those things. And that's also where other folks have come in.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So
if you want to know more about Node-RED, there is a Groups.io group. It's always a weird thing. It's a Groups.io group, and you're like, did I just say groups twice? And that's where we all hang out. If you search for Node-RED on Groups.io, you will find us there. And maybe this is, let me share my screen. And let's see, window, I want to share this. And I'm going to bring this into scene 1. Oh my gosh, look, it's a dual screens. But wait a minute, my screen is underneath there. Wait a minute, my screen is there and your screen is there. I'm not really sure what's going on.
Yours are both to the side for me.
Well, yeah, yours to the side, but mine to the bottom. But anyway, so this is the Groups.io page, and this is where we all hang out. And I just lost it. Maybe I can get it back here. Oh yeah. So if you search in the Groups.io page for WSJT, Alan WA9WUD has created this amazing dashboard that there it is, that you can download today. It's on the Node-RED website or on the Groups.io, and you can download it for free. So let me stop sharing and let's bring it up. So this is Alan's Node-RED flow.
And this is just a screenshot of it that I have.
Yeah, and it is absolutely amazing on all the things that you can control WSJT through Node-RED with this flow. It's amazing.
So he's done, he's taken that table to the next level because he's made these we haven't looked at the encoding node, but we can use the encoding node to then control WSJT. And he's done that here. You can click on these rows and it will trigger a conversation with those. You can pause, you can clear, you can do all kinds of other stuff with it as well.
Yeah. So Greg says he joined late, but how do you connect into WSJT? There are APIs exposing the capabilities. No. So Greg, if you rolled back a few minutes at the beginning, you'll see how you connect. It's through UDP, but I'm sure that Stephen, the guy that he is, he's going to show you real quick.
Yeah, so it's back over on the settings, right? It's people show up late for class, but that's okay. We understand.
You're tardy. I don't feel tardy. Class dismissed.
In WSJT, you go to the settings, the same place you'd configure if you're using Grid Tracker or something like that. And you want to configure the UDP server. And that's what you're going to use. You're going to use that address over in Node-RED when you configure the UDP nodes as well. I've got it configured using multicast. That's probably the better choice, though. I don't think we'll necessarily have time to go into that. But you want to configure that there. And that's the same thing that you're going to configure your UDP nodes for here with that same multicast address. That makes that connection between the two.
Yep. So it's all UDP, but then also if you want to control WSJT, you got to, in that settings file, you got to click the allow UDP requests.
Yep. Accept UDP.
Accept.
Frankly, I've forgotten now at what point which one of these. I think it's just accept UDP requests. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we can talk about controlling WSJT. So far, we've just done decoding of stuff, right? So we've decoded, and we saw early on that raw stuff that came out of that UDP thing. And that decode node really just decodes it into these more readable sort of messages that we can do something with. So let me go back to there. And it's these. It decodes them into these. These are the heartbeat messages we saw. I think I turned that off. That's why we're only seeing heartbeat messages.
Yeah.
But we've also got the decode messages. Actually, that's not the one I should have turned on. I should have turned this one on. So here we've got the decode messages that are now coming out. And this is what we can really do some intelligent kind of stuff on, are these decode messages. But when we decode them, okay, that's fine and dandy. We can kind of keep track of what's going on. Maybe we could set alerts. I've got a little tiny stoplight behind me. It's got the little red, green, and amber in the middle. And, that's a Internet of Things. It has a little Wi-Fi controller in it.
Right.
And if there's a call I'm looking out for, I can make that thing blink the red light. So, and I can see it from down the hallway.
Yeah.
So maybe I've got some little subtle sort of thing going on that tells me, oh, there was a call that you wanted. Grid Tracker is nice, but I don't really like the voice alerts.
Yeah. I want to say thanks to Eric, N1JUR, Amateur Radio, for the super chat. Thank you. He says, here's an apple for the teacher. Well, Stephen's the teacher. I'm the pupil. I'm the student. But yeah, the cool thing that you can set this thing up for is, I'm just thinking in my head, so let's say I need Vietnam, right? And for my DXCC. And I have got, like the Internet of Things. I've got a light, or I can set up Discord alerts, and I can have my computer connected to Node-RED, and whenever you're loading your nodes, and whenever it sees Vietnam, it can send me a Discord message that gets alerted to my phone to say Vietnam is on call and CQ, or propagation is good to Vietnam, and somebody's on, go get them.
Yeah. And here I've started, what I'm doing is I'm looking here, okay, WU7W is on. So I can say, hey, look, if I see this call sign come up, then it will send something out this little switch node. Now, I hope this guy is still on. But you can then trigger stuff from that. So I can attach this debug node to it. I'll deploy that. And if I see anything from that person again, which of course I won't, right? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So it alerted me that, oh, WU7W is on. So I could, if I've got some sort of Internet of Things out there, I could instead send that message to that.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of things in here. There's a HTTP, so I can do if it has a web service attached to it, I can call that web service right from here. So I can just wire that to the web service and say, okay, call that web server API thing.
John asks, what's the name of the Node-RED IO group? If the link is in the description, if you just go to groups.io and type in node-red, you'll find us. It is there.
Is there anybody on who is on 40 meters FT8 right now? We can put their call in here. I don't know if there is anyone.
So Greg says, thank you. More techie stuff. You mentioned option to stabilize the data and integrate JS. Do you have JS abilities, aka database connections, say for the full retention of all QSOs?
Yes. There's not ones. There are nodes for Postgres, MySQL. I think there's SQLite as well. And of course, you can call out to any web service. So if you've got something like, crud, I can't think of it at the moment. Not Grafana. Time series database.
Yeah.
Influx or something like that. There's nodes for all of those. So you'd go over here into the palette, and I use Postgres most of the time. Yep. But
I use SQLite.
There's a couple of Postgres ones. There's SQLite. So here's a couple of different ones. So you can dump out to a persistent database. You have to pay attention to where that database gets saved. If it's on the same machine as the Node-RED machine, you need to make sure you have access to that location with SQLite. Yep. Postgres and MySQL, they're just over the network. So,
and then Greg follows that up to ask or to say, in other words, can you do extreme JS promise type calls? Ooh, that's over my head. I don't even know what that means.
Node-RED limits, because Node-RED is running JavaScript, but you're a little bit limited to how it does some of the internal stuff because you're working within their framework. So you can use promises, but they might get resolved in weird ways.
What is a promise? I don't even know what a promise is.
It's I was about to say it's an asynchronous call, but JavaScript doesn't do asynchronous. But it's a way to sort of say, hey, do this later. I've got some code that I want to have happen, and you get back a promise that can either be resolved or rejected. So, but that, I'm trying to think of an easier way to explain it on the fly here.
I just went down the rabbit hole that I shouldn't have gone down.
It's like, hey, Kyle, let's do this thing on Node-RED and WSJT-X. Okay, I promise you that we will do it. But then we're just both kind of hanging on for a little while.
I think that was the conversation we had 4 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Until the day actually comes and I actually connect. Then I resolve the promise by being here as opposed to rejecting it and not showing up.
It sounds like this stream. Oh, what a great example.
The weird complication, though, is Node-RED tries to package everything into a flow, and a promise would sort of interrupt the flow and say, okay, don't follow this line until some later time. Okay, it's a little weird when you're trying to work in the Node-RED framework. I'm pretty sure it would work.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've got some nodes for the flexradio, which makes extensive use of promises underneath the covers. Because when you're working with network stuff, it's all very asynchronous. You don't know when stuff is coming in.
Right. Yeah. Ken asks, I suspect you can post to QRZ directly as well. I don't know if they have an API.
They do, because
well, you can look things up, but I don't know if you can push things to. I mean, you can look up call signs through QRZ.
I think if you're a paid subscriber, you can, because I know it's either my grid. Yeah, my grid tracker posts directly to QRZ.
Okay, so if you can do that through grid tracker, you can do it through this. Then
yeah,
you just need to figure out what the code is. Like I wrote customized code to pull from my contest dashboard to pull call signs from. It's basically a call sign lookup query. So you might have to do some. They probably give you some API information. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and it's a REST API, which is over HTTP or over the web.
Yep.
So yeah, you just have to take a look at their API. And I don't think there is a node that posts to QRZ at the moment.
I don't think so. I took a look, and
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe I could write some. Maybe I need to get with you or Alan to figure out how to package my nodes into,
This is like super easy. You're getting me distracted, guys. Stop that.
Yeah, sorry.
I got other stuff to do. I can't work on another node.
You guys, quit it.
Last time somebody mentioned stuff like that, I went on a weird sidetrack of developing WSJT-X nodes.
and here we are.
You start down one path, you end up in another.
I know. My contest dashboard, I had an idea, and 4:00 in the morning, 2 days later, I'm still working on it. I'm just like, I got to go to work tomorrow. I got to go to bed.
So I'm gonna bring up this other. I'm gonna import a different example, and this one is the. Where did I go? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. This is a really kind of raw example, but this is the encoder sample because again, we can control WSJT-X. So this one is much more crazier. Import a copy. Yeah. Okay. This is kind of like what most of my flows look like. They're debugging flows, right?
Yeah.
And basically this is creating another dashboard with a bunch of buttons. All of these things over here are buttons that are going to show up on that dashboard that I can click. And they're going to send different things into the encoder, and the encoder is going to send it back to WSJT-X. So you can see instead of the decode node, I've got these all filtered into this encode node.
Yeah.
So this takes that human readable JavaScript stuff we've been looking at in the debug window and converts it into the binary stuff that we need to send out that UDP port. So you'll notice the UDP is on the other end of things.
Yeah. Gotcha.
There's a few other things in here that are maintenance. Like I need to know what the address of the WSJT-X server is that this takes care of. And then there's just some other kind of random debug stuff that I have down here so that I can test it. That's really what this flow is about, is for me to create a dashboard that I can click on buttons. And if I go back to that dashboard, whoops, did I deploy? I didn't deploy yet. I deploy, I'll go back to the dashboard, and you'll notice at the top now, there's all these buttons.
Yeah.
So now let me make this a little bit smaller. Oh, look, somebody's calling me.
Oh, somebody. Is it somebody on the stream? It could be somebody on the stream. Hang on. Let me bring this down, and I can't.
K9KJ.
Yeah, K9KJ.
Ah.
Who is K9KJ?
Yeah.
That's I know who that is. That's TJ.
Well, so these buttons up here. So, I did this before. I clicked the little erase here, but I can clear those from here too. So I can use the nodes to clear both of those, or to replay something, or down here, this is the free text thing. I can change that from here. Ho, ho, ho. And I can set that free text. You'd see it gets set to ho, ho, ho. So there's a bunch of different things that we can do in WSJT-X, including, I think I put close over here. I'm not going to do that right now, but I can halt the transmission if something's going screwy on me.
Yeah.
I can close. I can even change my configuration. So I've got two configurations. I've got a flexradio and a IC705. Yeah. And I can change WSJT-X's configuration from Node-RED. So.
Gotcha.
I guess I lost K9KJ.
You got scared. Come on.
I really need Alaska. That's what I really need.
Greg says, are these flows, say, in a Git repo or just in groups.io? Well, if you load Stephen's nodes, they're in the examples, but the one that we just showed you is in the groups.io. The not the one that Stephen just showed
this
you.
crazy one.
Yeah, that one, the Fruity Pebbles one.
Yeah, that one's all of the example ones that I've been showing are you get when you install the nodes, and they all show up under this import examples, and then look under Node-RED contrib WSJT-X. If you're really, goofy like me, all this it's all open source. I think I put the MIT license on it. It's all out here. It is on GitHub, and all of the stuff is there. It's Node-RED contrib WSJT-X.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, so all of those are in there as well as the reasonable amount of documentation I did. I think Kyle and I ended up in this path because I mentioned, boy, I always meant to record some tutorial videos for that.
It's documentation is the bane of everyone's existence.
Yeah.
Like doing, you should see how many documentation videos I have on the cutting room floor where you get through it and then you look at it and be like, this isn't good enough. And you got to go back and do more. And it's so I would love, I love documentation. Good documentation is great, but I wish that I had more time to do it, especially in my day job. I wish that I could document more, but I can't.
Yeah, there's you can always document more. That's the thing. I've always learned. It does have limited capability with JTDX as well. Unfortunately, JTDX and WSJT-X forked their network protocol a while back. And I think it was somewhere around version 2.3 of WSJT-X where JTDX forked off. And some of the stuff is different between the two. So it doesn't always work properly. There is a little thing in here in the encoder where, you can, these don't quite work right. So don't go clicking around too much. But I don't have JTDX in here, but I think if you pick the 2.3, I think that's the one that works right with JTDX.
Gotcha.
My hope was over the holiday break, I was going to get back at these and fix that problem. I think that's one of the issues I have here in GitHub, but the intent is it would support JTDX as well.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Very cool. Well, anything else that you feel like you want to get through or show?
Let me say, so when it comes to the decoding, so all of the different message types, and folks often ask, what are the fields? What are the things that show up here and what do they mean? For that, there's a link on the GitHub page that points you at, frankly, the source code for WSJT-X. The reason I point at the source code for WSJT-X is because in the network message file is their documentation for all of the fields and all of the stuff that WSJT-X sends out. Now, the decoder node takes care of all the, what these Q date and time things are. But if we scroll down and we look at like the heartbeat message, it says, okay, the heartbeat message has these things. It has a unique key, which is the ID. And if we look over here, we've got the ID, and that's the unique key. If we look, it's also got a maximum schema number, a version, and a revision. And if I look at those, I'm looking at decode here, not heartbeat. I'm sorry. Let me get to the right screen. So if I look at status and then down here is decode, it shows me what all the fields are. And then there's a description about what they are. So we should see new, which is a Boolean, time, signal to noise ratio, message, and you'll see all those over in here.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to say, okay, I'm trying to find the person's call sign. Okay, you'll notice it's not here. It's in the message somewhere when you read the thing. So
yeah, got it.
Yep.
Where is that? You want to shoot me the link to that documentation, and I'll put it in the description.
It's on. I believe their official source code is on SourceForge. There are people who mirror it on GitHub, but most of those are somewhat out of date. I will also say that I don't think the protocol has changed in some while. I want to say like 2 years, but that can't be right.
Let's see.
729 was the last time. Oh, they changed some of the spec operation stuff, but they didn't change the protocol. They just changed the meaning of some of the small things in it. But yeah, I texted you that.
Okay, got it. Yep. I will put the link that Stephen was showing in the description.
Yeah.
Let me do that right now so I don't forget.
So if you're looking at what the meaning of those fields are, that's the place to go to look. It's more important when you get to doing the encoder, because the encoder, you need to sort of know what those fields, when you encode things, you need to, encode the right things.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I just put it in the description. So
yeah,
you peeps that want it, refresh your screen and you should be able to see it in the description.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris, real quick, has a question. He asks, do you accept pull requests? I have written a C+ nugget package that handles all the WSJT-X messages both in and out.
I'm not sure how that would help the JavaScript code.
Yeah.
I certainly do, I track issues, and I think I've merged 1 or 2 pull requests from people, maybe not on the WSJT-X nodes, certainly for documentation. But yeah, absolutely. If you want to go in and you've got some fix in there, please let me know. And if you've done the work to fix it in a pull request, yeah, super.
Okay.
If you want to get into the gory details, the encoder and decoder stuff are in here. Here's the Node-RED parts, and then there's this really horrible looking parser thing. If you really want to look at JavaScript code, I'd more than happy. And again, it's MIT license. If you want to fork it, yeah, go ahead and fork it. But I'd rather see a pull request than a fork.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Somebody's like, I'm going to fork your contest dashboard. And I'm like, oh no, here we go. I'm like, now it's going to be like 4 contest dashboards out there. And I'm like, can you just do a pull request and we'll figure it out?
Okay. I'd rather it be a pull request and get it fixed in the original, in the upstream. But yeah, if you really want to fork it, whatever. I don't know.
It's not like I have been dark on, I'm still here.
I'm still kicking.
I'm still kicking. Can we, like, once I become a silent key, you can fork it, make it all your own.
Yeah.
But I'm still here and I can still help,
Yeah, all the stuff is here. I've got a couple of issues that and I think I fixed a couple of these. I think I fixed the multicast range. I think there's still this bug about JTDX that's in there. So, and I have horrible problems with spelling errors. So of course I've got spelling error.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that stuff is there, and feel free, take a look.
Okay. Very good. Well, now I feel I was a little hesitant to dive into. I'm not a big FT8 person. I mean, I do whenever there's contests on and some weird ass countries. But now you have gotten me enthused about what. Now I'm going to load this, and now I'm going to go down the rabbit hole, and I'm going to load Alan's flow, and now it's going to be game over for me in the next 2 weeks on FT8. If you have me in your ham alert, I'm not sorry.
Yeah,
turn me off right now. I
don't think I have you in my logbook yet, so
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't have a lot of people in my logbook. I don't. I'm very selective whenever it comes to FT8. But Riddy Roundup is coming up this weekend. Go ahead and turn me off, because I'm going to be calling CQSO2R on the old 6700 all weekend. So that's the plan. Oh, Mike. Hey, Mike, what's going on? Showed up in the chat.
I don't think I've done Riddy since I moved off of my 705, or not the 705, the 450D.
Oh, I love Riddy.
That darn flex radio just seems so easy to
I know
FT8 on.
I have I have a login on my Windows PC, and it's called RIDI, and I just log in and N1MM pops up. I start up the Flex Radio. It just works. I don't have to configure anything. It's, it's all in our profile. And then, yeah, actually, I think the practice round is tonight. I think we missed that, but yeah, all weekend, RIDI all weekend. Maybe I'll even stream it.
In these, we mentioned Flex Radio, but frankly, most of the WSJT-X nodes I developed using the ICOM IC705 as my rig when it was going. That was my other my other rig that I used when I was doing most of these, just sitting on the desktop. So you don't need the fancy radio. Anything that connects to WSJT-X, you can use these nodes and turn it into a computer station.
Yeah, it is cool. It is very cool. All the things that you and Alan and
Dave has done a ton.
Dave and Mick is on there. Mick is he's a top contributor. Mick is W8REBE, W8BE. He's a big Node-RED guy. There's a lot of people on the Node-RED groups IO that if you're not on there and you're into Node-RED or you're into programming and you're into ham radio, that's the place for you to hang out. We geek about software, Node-RED flows, and connecting different radios. The last couple of topics have been CAT ICOM to Kenwood converter. Been talking about RCS4 switches. Been talking about GPIO pins, and we just found this new node. I don't know if it's new, but it's called System Info. And man, is it cool! It gives you all types of system info for the metal that you're running on, and it is a really cool node. I'm going to actually do a video about it this week. So,
and I'm sure you probably talked about this before. Node-RED doesn't require a lot of horsepower. A lot of people are running it on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, there was a guy that emailed me 2 weeks ago and said, I just got a Raspberry Pi Zero. Will it run Node-RED? I'm like, yeah, sure. Load it up. He loaded it up and it's like, it's running. I'm like, yeah, it'll run slow, but it'll run.
It runs on everything. I have it running on my regular desktop computer, but yeah, it runs on everything. So
yeah. Thanks, Brooks. Great in-depth dive into Node-RED for FT8. We'll have to see what's available for JS8. My Flex is working awesome. Thanks for the great live stream. Awesome. Another Flex brother out there. Love my Flex.
So, and I think this will, frankly, I've only really tested this on FT8. Frankly, I'm writing code more than I'm on air, but I think it should work with anything that's in here that WSJT-X does. So,
yeah.
Oh, there's K9KJ. I knew he'd come back.
Yeah, there he is. There he is. that guy.
It's just hard to reach me here in the Northeast.
Mike says my Pi 4 at the house runs Node-RED, soft Ether VPN home bridge, and its average CPU is 2%. Yep.
Yeah.
I wonder. So there's been a couple of guys that have gotten the Pi 5 and have run Node-RED. I think they've had a little bit of issues with. I can't remember what they've had issue-wise. Maybe it was the GPIO pins.
I know a fellow who just got a Pi 5 and he had a heck of a time getting it set up. I don't remember if it was. I thought he had a problem with WSJT-X though. I don't know if it was GPIO. Yeah, I don't remember what he had a problem with.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But
yeah.
The Pi 4 is safe. I think the Pi 5 has got some. Let it bake for a while and see what happens.
Yeah, I still got like a bunch of Pi 1s, Pi 2s, Pi 3s, Pi 4s sitting around.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what to do with them all.
I do too. I do too. I probably need to take him down to take the Pi 2, 3s and the 1s and the 2s and take them down to the school and just give them to the kids and say, here, go wild with it. So, all right, Stephen, have we said enough? Have we said it all?
I feel like we got further along than I was thinking. So, as long as we didn't go too fast.
I think we're good. This is just, a primer. You can obviously go down the rabbit hole, but yeah. It's just to wet your whistle on Stephen's nodes and WSJT and how to control stuff. It's cool. It's awesome.
And certainly reach out on the Groups IO forum there. There's a ton of people there that are so willing to help.
Yes. Yeah. Come hang out with us on the Groups IO, ask questions. Micah's got a good suggestion. He says, give all the pies to new hams who are on a budget. I've given all of mine away. I say that they're in the mailbox, come pick it up. Yep. That's a good idea. I haven't even thought about that. I probably should just put something out on our local Facebook and say, hey, free pies. Free pie. Everyone loves free pie.
Who would turn down free pie?
Yeah, exactly. So
it's a new use for my pie safe. Interesting.
All right. Well, anything you want to promote? You're going to be at 4 Days in May, right?
The hope is I'll be at 4 Days in May again this year. I don't think I'll win another radio, but that was the first.
That's right. You run the radio last year, didn't you? I was in the back when your name was drawn.
Year before last. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll probably be there helping out with the build-a-thon and floating around, hanging out in the background. Who knows?
Cool. Mike says Orlando. I am planning on being in Orlando. Stephen, are you going to Orlando?
Is that the Hamcation thing?
Hamcation, yes.
I've never done that before. Oh, look, my mother lives pretty close by, but I've never done that before. I don't know. When is that?
It's the second week in February.
Wow. Huh.
So it's coming up. I mean, I'm planning on being in Orlando. I've got some family health issues that are going on right now. So we'll see how well my mother is. I mean, they're planning on being down in Florida, and they're going down next week. And if the parents are well, I will be down there. Actually, I'm going down there in the month of February. It's a matter if I can get to Orlando or not. So yeah, I'm heading to Orlando, and if you're going to be in Orlando, I will see everyone down there. It's always good to get down there in the hot weather, warm weather, and yeah, it's good for the bones.
I say that from well, Mike knows this too. We're up in the Great White North, so
yes,
it's not white yet. That's the downside.
I hear it. I hear it's coming though. Aren't you supposed to get a big, huge snowstorm in the next week or so?
I think we're finally supposed to get snow. So
yeah.
It's weird having not a white Christmas when you live in the state of Maine.
Yes. It's I think yeah. So
propagation has been awesome though, so I'm not complaining.
Very good. All right, we're gonna get out of here so everyone can go to bed. It's past everyone's bedtime. Go to bed, everyone. Get out of here. So
not those West Coast folks.
No, they go to bed early. It's late there too.
Well, thank you, Kyle. Thanks for the getting my tutorial video out of the way.
Well, thank you. You're the one that let me close down this. Yeah, you're the brains of this operation. So thank you for coming on and hanging out with me and showing your WSJT-X nodes. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You're one of the great contributors of the Node Red ham radio world. So thank you for all that you do and all the things that you program. It's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and like I say, it's the other folks who layer the stuff on top of that. I can't thank the Allens and Daves enough for answering all the questions about the nodes I wrote, so I don't have to answer them. I can just write more code.
Yep. Very good. All right. Again, CW operators on Monday night, 8 p.m. We're doing QRP radios, and then next week on Thursday, I'm going to have Carl, K9LA. He is the director of the Central Division. No, maybe he's the vice director of the Central Division. I think he's the vice director. Anyway, he is going to be doing K9LA. He is Mr. Cycle 25. He knows all things about Cycle 25 and the propagation and where we are in the solar cycle. and are in this solar cycle. And he is going to give an update next week on Thursday on what his predictions are, where we're at, and what can you expect for the rest of the year and the rest of this cycle. So that should be awesome. And yeah, more technical stuff on Thursdays. And again, CW Roundtable on Monday night at 8 p.m. So that's it from here. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate it. And we will see everyone later. 73, everyone.
Super duper.